Hello everybody, welcome to this week's Shoosmiths Live video. Today I'm joined by one of our trainee solicitors, Inayah, and we are going to be talking all about client secondments. So we're going to be talking about client secondments, which you may already know a little bit about, but we're going to start right from the kind of basics of what a secondment is, why it might benefit you in your training contract, and then a little bit about what you can expect from a client secondment in a different way to what you would expect in private practice. So if you've got any questions at any time, you can type them into the comments and we will answer them for you. Just a reminder that our placement deadline or placement application is currently open and the deadline is the 28th of February. So you've got just less than a month to submit your application for a placement, and the actual placements themselves are taking place on the 1st and the 8th of June for 1 week each. So if you are available on those dates, you'd like to experience Shoosmiths, then please do submit an application form, and I'll come back to those details at the end of the video as well. But if you've got any questions about secondments, about Inayah's experience, about careers advice, working at Shoosmiths, we'll answer any of those today. So to get us started, I guess, we're in Birmingham today. We're in our Birmingham boardroom, which is where a lot of our training events happen for our trainees. So you might be able to see some of the room behind us. And I would like to know, where are you watching us from today? So if you just type that into the comments, and also if there's a friend or a colleague who you think would benefit from watching this video, then tag them into the comments as well. They'll get notified now about the video, but if they're not available to watch us live, they can come back later on and catch up on the video. So it's really useful to share this with your friends and colleagues if you think they'd be interested. Right, let's get straight into it then. So Inayah, we're going to go straight into the interview, and I want to know a little bit about you, about your studies and why you chose a career in law.
So my name's Inayah. I'm a trainee in my first seat at Birmingham Shoosmiths. My studies were just fairly conventional really. I went to school, did my GCSEs at school, and then went to college and did my A-levels. So I did 3 A-levels, psychology, sociology and law. I also did an AS level in film studies, which not many people know about me.
Okay.
And then I went on to university, so I studied at the University of Nottingham and did my law degree there.
Okay, cool.
And I graduated in 2016. Following that, I worked as a legal secretary for a while, then came to Shoosmiths as a paralegal, and in 2017 in September, I started my LPC at the University of Law in Birmingham.
Okay, cool. So tell me, why did you choose law to study at uni? Did you know at that point you wanted to be a solicitor?
So I always thought I wanted to be a barrister because I'd always seen it on TV and thought it was really cool. But quickly realised when I started my law degree that that's not what I wanted to do. It's a little bit harder to become a barrister, particularly a criminal barrister, but I enjoyed law. I thought it was quite intellectually challenging, and I liked that, and I liked the feeling of understanding something once you've tried really, really hard to get your head around it, and then finally being able to understand it. I really liked that, and that's when I realised like law is for me, because that's the feeling I want every day, to feel accomplished and feel like I know something.
Yeah, okay. And so you chose to do your LPC before or after you had a training contract offer?
So I did my LPC after I had my offer for a training contract, purely because of funding, because I didn't have the means to fund it myself, and I wanted to do it once I knew that I'd secured a training contract and had that funding in place to pay for my LPC.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it is expensive.
Yeah, okay, cool. So you joined Shoosmiths as a paralegal in
2017,
and you were working as a paralegal in the Birmingham office for about 4 months at the point when you started applying for training contracts, or?
Yeah, so I'd been at Shoosmiths for about 4 months. I'd previously applied for training contracts whilst I was at university, but had been rejected. I think I got through to one interview for a vacation scheme, but after the interview stage I didn't get any further. So when I was at Shoosmiths was my first time really thinking about, right, this is like serious, I need to think about how I'm going to take this forward, because I knew this was for me. So that's when I put my application in at Shoosmiths.
Okay, cool. And how many times did you go through our recruitment process?
just once.
Yeah,
I was one of
perfect.
the lucky ones, but it doesn't happen to everyone, and that's fine.
Yeah, and you'd been through some experiences of kind of applications and
Yeah.
an interview as well before that with other places. So I guess that gave you a good experience and knowledge of what to expect on the Shoosmiths
Yeah,
Assessment
it
Centre.
definitely did. And being in Shoosmiths as well, I'd heard people talking about their own experiences. So I talked to the trainees that were here at the time, and they told me about their experiences and even experiences at other firms, and that really helped me prepare for it all.
Yeah. So Shoosmiths put everybody through the same recruitment experience for a training contract. So whether you work for us as a paralegal or in another role, or you're applying externally, then you go through the same application form, video interview, and then the assessment centre. But what other benefits did you get out of working here as a paralegal, even though you went through the same process as everybody else?
So working here as a paralegal meant I had that internal insight into the firm, so I've been able to go to things like team brief, which happen every month here in Birmingham and across all the other offices. They give you an idea of the clients that we're working with, what deals we're working on, where the firm's going in terms of strategy. I also had access to things like Channel 9, which is our intranet, and they publish documents on there about strategy, like your 5-year plan, what we're working on. So that really helps me in terms of forming my opinion on why Shoosmiths, and also why I think Shoosmiths is a good firm for me as a trainee, and how I can make use of all the opportunities that it would give me, because I had first-hand knowledge of the opportunities. But things like Facebook Live with, is it Peter Duff and also Simon Boss that I've done, that's really helpful because that's all the type of information that I had access to.
Yeah.
So that kind of information is really useful in your applications and even on the assessment centre day.
Yeah, so Inayah is referring to the 2 Facebook Live videos, one that we did with Simon, who's our CEO, and one with our chairman, Peter Duff, recently, and you can find them on our Facebook and our YouTube channel. And they're just under an hour long, I think, each of the videos, but they share so much information about the firm's strategy and how Shoosmiths operates as a business. So it's giving you, as an external applicant, some of that almost insider knowledge that you would have had access to as well. And when else do you get the chance to kind of sit down and listen to the CEO and the chairman for an hour before you actually put in your application?
Yeah,
so,
it's really beneficial, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so just a reminder that you can ask questions at any time during this video, and we will get some answers to you. And if you've got a friend or a colleague who you think would be interested in listening to what we're talking about today, which is kind of working at Shoosmiths, training contracts and client secondments, then please do tag them and share this video with them. Okay, so you came back to Shoosmiths, so you did your LPC, you came back to Shoosmiths as a first year trainee, first seat trainee in September, and for your first seat you've been on a client secondment.
Yes.
Which is fairly unusual for most trainees, that they wouldn't have that experience where they're going out for the first seat. But as you'd had some experience within the business already, you already had some relationships, you had commercial experience, and you were the perfect fit to go to this client. So tell us a little bit about before coming back, when you knew that you were going out onto client secondment. How did you feel?
Scared.
Yeah.
I had a lot of conversations with Sam and with the client partner about the secondment, and they were really helpful at talking me through all my worries and making me feel at ease about it, which was really nice. I was actually on holiday in Canada when I found out that I might be going on secondment, so it was a little bit stressful at the time because I was a little bit unsure about what I'd be coming back to, but it was nice to know that you were there for me, the client partner was there, and I also had other people within the firm that I already knew, and also the trainees who were on secondment at the time with the client, they got in touch with me and they talked me through any questions I had. So yeah, I was scared, but I felt a lot better once I'd spoken to people about it.
Yeah, the support networks are fairly good for when you're on a client secondment, and I think the networks that you make, obviously not just with the client where you're spending the time with them, but in terms of internally within Shoosmiths, in terms of the client partner, the client account managers, previous trainees that you might not have come into contact with. So you're building your networks internally in that way as well, which is quite good.
Definitely.
So for somebody who doesn't know what a client secondment is, tell me it from the total basics.
So a client secondment is when you work exclusively for one client. Ordinarily you're placed in their business. So you're there 5 days a week. Sometimes you can work remotely 1 day a week, but usually it's 5 days a week in the client's office, working exclusively on their account, and you're essentially just part of their legal team rather than being an external legal advisor. So you'll have access to all their systems, all their internal emailing systems, their intranet, so you get to learn about their strategy as well. You get to learn about what makes that business tick, and you're really embedded into their business actually when you're on client secondment.
Okay, so you remain an employee of Shoosmiths,
Yeah.
you continue to be paid by Shoosmiths and
Yeah.
have all your usual benefits that you'd expect to get about your Shoosmiths employment, but it kind of feels like you're employed by them for that 6-month period.
Yeah.
Okay, and how big is the team that you work with in comparison, how big is the team that you work with on secondment in comparison to who you'd be working with at Shoosmiths?
It's actually a lot smaller when you're on a client secondment. So the team that I'm in is Volkswagen. So I'm based in Milton Keynes. Their legal team has around 5 people. So it's much smaller than the commercial team, for example, in Birmingham, which is about 35 people. So it is a lot smaller, but you've got the Shoosmiths team behind you. So they're still part of your team. You've still got that extension of your team. It doesn't feel like you're left behind. But equally you feel really part of the legal team, and it's nice to be in a smaller team as well because you get to know people a little bit more, I think. So you get to gel with them as well as knowing you've got your extended team at Shoosmiths here.
Yeah, so you almost feel like part of 2 teams.
Yeah,
both the
part of 2
Shoosmiths team and the clients team.
Yeah.
And what kind of work are you doing on a day-to-day basis when you're at the client, again, compared to what you would do if you were in the commercial team in Birmingham?
So you're usually working on more project style work, which means that transactions can be ongoing. So I'm working on a few things. So I started in September, and there are still some matters that are ongoing since September and will probably be ongoing after I finish in March. So the work is more project based. It's more business critical agreements that you've got to deal with, but you also have your everyday, like sort of day-to-day low value commercial agreements. So if I was in the commercial team in Birmingham and not on a client secondment, I'd probably be working on the more high value deals where things need to be turned around more quickly, rather than the things that are more day to day or those long project type deals.
Okay, and VWG has been a client of the firms for some time, and you said they're based in Milton Keynes, which is where you're carrying out the secondment, but you're from Birmingham and your kind of base Shoosmiths office is the Birmingham office, and you chose to commute every day into Milton Keynes. How's that going?
Yeah, it's different to my usual commute because my usual commute is a lot shorter. But again, Shoosmiths was really good in making those arrangements for me and made the travelling a lot easier for me.
Yeah.
So that's nice.
Great. And okay, so we've got a couple more questions. Let's just have a look on here. So a typical day we kind of covered, I guess. Yeah, so I want to know a little bit more about the type of work. So when, if you were working at Shoosmiths in the commercial team, then your clients are the clients, the external clients, and when you're working in-house, so for VW, who are your clients and who are you giving the legal advice to?
So ordinarily in private practice, your client is the legal team, whereas when you're on secondment, your client is the business. So that could be anyone from the facilities manager, people in the marketing team, people in the post room. Wherever there's a requirement for a contract or any type of legal work, that will come to us. So, for example, at the moment I'm working with people who are in the after sales team, people who are in the marketing team, people who are in the IT team. It gives you an insight into things that you didn't really think about before. So how do they run their internal systems? That's all dealt with by the IT team. So we'll get a contract from the IT team that's maybe been sent by a supplier, which we'll review. So your client is the business, and they're the people you'll speak to every day. You'll of course have contact with your supervisors who will supervise your work and oversee what you're doing, but your ultimate client is the business, which differs to how it works if you're in private practice, where you'll liaise with the legal team rather than directly with the business. Yeah,
okay. And so the type of work that you're working on a client's comment could be far broader.
Yes.
Whereas if you were part of the commercial team in Birmingham, it might be similar kind of contracts, but I guess working in-house means it could be the HR director that's coming to you for some legal advice, or it could be the marketing team. So the types of things and questions they're asking and they want to know about could be quite different.
Very different. And with the Volkswagen Secondment specifically, we get a lot of commercial litigation work, which if I was in the commercial team in Birmingham, I wouldn't see, because it would go to the litigation team rather than the commercial team. So there is a broader spectrum of work that you get to pick up when you're on secondment.
Okay, great. That all sounds fantastic. So I want to know what you think are the skills that you've developed or that you've needed to use during this client secondment, again, that's going to be beneficial to your long-term career as a solicitor.
I think one of the biggest things for me was confidence in myself and my legal advice I was giving, and also the confidence to just like run meetings, because often my supervisor will say, okay, so somebody's come to me with a query, I don't really know what it's about, please can you speak to the business and find out what they need. So I'll then have to go and front that meeting, just me with the contact in the business. And it's just being confident in yourself to know that, yeah, I can do that information gathering exercise and I can go and report back to my supervisor, and making sure you're efficient in doing so as well. Because things are fast-paced when you're on secondment. Some things can be slower than others, but making sure that you're keeping that momentum, that's been one of the biggest skills that I've picked up. And I've also really improved my commercial drafting.
Okay.
Which has been really nice.
Yeah.
So just a couple of weeks ago, I drafted a buyback letter from scratch. I tried to use a precedent, but we didn't really have a precedent. And just being able to free draft was quite nice, because I'd never really done that before. So that's another skill that I've really built.
Okay, yeah, that's great. And what do you think, what benefit is it to the firm? What benefit is it to Shoosmiths by still paying you as an employee, but actually we're not getting any... you're not working for us for that 6-month period. I mean, you are obviously going to be doing some stuff to do with Shoosmiths, but essentially you're out of the business for 6 months.
I think it's that connection with the client, because there's always that person from Shoosmiths within the client, and I think that really builds trust in Shoosmiths as a brand, as a supplier of legal advice, because they know the standard of people that are coming through Shoosmiths, and if they can work with you every day and you can get to know their business and really get into the nitty-gritty of the business and then take that back with you, it means that they're always going to have people at Shoosmiths that know what makes Volkswagen tick and how they operate, and that's really beneficial for Shoosmiths. And also it's just the training, like we come back as a better trainee. I've got so many more skills that I've built, I've got so much experience, and it's really great exposure. So to come back to Shoosmiths as what will be my second seat, as a second seat trainee, my skill set will be so much greater than it would be if I was just in one team in here, in private practice.
And what a fantastic client brand to have on your LinkedIn or CV going forward, that you've worked for as well. A brand that you really can be proud of, and that is everybody recognises VW, don't they? So, yeah,
exactly.
I heard there's a car wash in the car park at VW.
Yes, there is a car wash. It's not free, so I don't know what rumours you've heard, but yes, there is a car wash. And they all get company cars, which is pretty cool.
Oh yeah, okay, that sounds good. Good place to work. Okay, and just a reminder, if you've joined us part through this video, we're talking about client secondments, and we're talking about how they can kind of benefit your training and training contract in the long run. And you can ask us questions at any time, so type them into the comments and we're going to come on to your questions in a second. So I wanted to ask you, Inayah, if you had any questions for me before we move on to the audience questions.
So obviously you've been working at Shoosmiths for quite some time, so why did you choose Shoosmiths?
Okay, so I guess for me, in the first place, actually, it was more about the particular role that I was choosing. So when I joined Shoosmiths nearly 10 years ago now, I chose the role because, which was a graduate recruitment officer, and because it had elements of kind of everything I had done previous to that. So I had a law degree myself, but I didn't want to go down the actual solicitor route. I had worked in recruitment for graduates. I'd also worked on kind of a rotational scheme for graduates where I organised the seat moves essentially. I'd worked in a couple of sales and marketing jobs. So all of these kind of different experiences actually rolled into one really nicely for the graduate recruitment officer role. And then when I joined Shoosmiths, I guess then it's the brand and the culture of Shoosmiths that has made me stay for this long. I always say it's pretty cheesy when I'm at an insight evening or a law fair or something like that, and I say really do love my job, because it sounds so, so cheesy, but it is true. And I think you really do need to enjoy your job and the place you work, the people you work with, and you need to have your own values align with the company that you're working for, because you spend a lot of time in the business. So my absolute favourite thing about Shoosmiths, and I see this across all different levels, right through kind of in my role, I hear trainees talk about it, I even hear partners talk about it, but it's the trust from the firm to the individuals. So if you have an idea or something like that, or well, you're really encouraged to have ideas at any level and put forward kind of innovative thinking, but if you have an idea and you want to run with it, then you're trusted to do so within reason. And I just think that's great, because in terms, even Shoosmiths Live is a fantastic example of that. There's many businesses that would still feel very hesitant about streaming live on Facebook, but it's such a useful information platform for us to be able to talk to people who want a career here. So and the business understands how beneficial that is for us. So that's great, and obviously makes my job a lot easier. So yeah.
It's interesting because we've just been tasked with launching a new young professionals networking event in Birmingham, and again it comes down to the trust that the office head has just said, organise it however you want, here's your budget, and we just get to run with it, which is really nice.
Do you have any dates in the diary for that?
We have provisionally, it's going to be around the 25th or 26th of February, but we'll be sending out communications to young professionals in and around Birmingham. So look out for it.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So you heard that here first then. So new young professionals and networking opportunities coming from Shoosmiths soon in Birmingham. Yeah, okay, cool. Can you tell me, so you've got a little while left still on your client secondment, but so far, can you tell me a highlight of your experience at VW?
My highlight. So at the moment, I'm working on a really cool mediation. So mediation out of court is not something that happens regularly. I can't go into the details of it, obviously, because it's confidential. But it's with one of our major suppliers, and it's to do with contractual interpretation. So I've actually arranged an independent mediator to come in, and the mediation will be taking place here in Birmingham. So that's something really cool, because I got to draft the position statement, which is something you put forward to the mediator before the mediation takes place, and it's just a really good learning experience. And I'm a bit lame, I like stuff like that. It's interesting, it's cool, and I think it will really question the drafting of the agreement, so it will be nice to see how that comes up and how it's challenged.
Okay, all right, lovely. Okay, so let's see if you guys have got any questions for us. Just bear with me while I just refresh the question. Sometimes there's a little bit of delay, so there is absolutely more time for you to ask any questions if you've got any you would like to ask. Okay, so let's see. So Reggie has asked, do you get training provided by the client when you first start your secondment? So I guess thinking about, so in terms of your training contract training, that all remains the same with Shoosmiths. So last week you just completed some of your professional skills course, so you came back and joined the trainee cohort for that at Shoosmiths, and other training modules that you would normally have, you still have throughout, but what training have you received at VW?
So you get your really boring IT training.
Necessary.
But apart from that, you just sort of learn on the job. There's no formal training. You have a handover with the previous trainees. So we had a handover day when we went in and took on all the work from the previous trainees. But apart from that, the training really is day to day. There's no formal training structure, but it's learning on the job. And I think that's really, with the training contract, that's how you want it to be, because it's learning things as you go along.
And you've got the support networks there.
You've got the support. There's always the opportunity to ask your supervisor questions if you don't understand something. There's been times when I've sat down with my supervisor and questioned the way that things have been drafted or why we do things a certain way, and that's your training, and that's the real beneficial part of the secondment, is learning those things day to day.
And I guess thinking about the kind of other life admin things that you need to do as part of your training contract, you have regular appraisals or seat reviews every 3 months. That still takes place while you're on secondment. But one thing that you don't do while you're on secondment is time record.
Oh yeah, it's nice not to time record, although we do have to. We still have to fill out our time sheets.
Yeah.
But it's just your straight 7.5 hours that you just put in. So it's nice not to have to do that daily, because sometimes that can be a little bit frustrating.
Yeah, don't worry, you'll be doing it
Yeah,
when
I'll
you
be
come
doing
back
it
in
in
March.
March.
And then for the rest of your solicitor life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's nice whilst it lasts.
For anybody that's not sure about what time recording is, can you just give us a brief kind of overview?
So we record what we do in 6-minute units. So for example, if something takes you half an hour to do, you will start a clock and finish it. You stop the clock once you finish your work, and then you drag that across into a timesheet and record it against a specific matter, and that then reflects in how you bill your client, because you bill them for the time that you spent doing a piece of work. So you have to time record in order to bill. Yeah.
And I think in the long term as well, it helps you work out how much a piece of work is going to cost. So
yes.
if it took you half an hour to draft that letter today, probably over time you would get quicker, and that's, I guess, why partner charge out rates would be higher than that of a trainee for certain things, but you'd get quicker at things. But then you would know, okay, well, that took me half an hour to do that letter, so next time when I quote for that work,
yeah.
that's going to probably take me half an hour.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Tangina has asked, Shoosmiths promote a healthy work-life balance. Do you feel that your client's secondment also gives you a work-life balance? Well, that's a really good question.
That is a really good question. And yes, definitely. I do feel like they give me a really good, healthy work-life balance. And there's been a lot of times when we've had trainee events going on in Birmingham, and I've spoken to my supervisor at secondment and just asked if I can have the day out. For example, today I've got the day in Birmingham rather than being in Milton Keynes. So there's that. And there have also been times when I've asked to leave earlier for family commitments.
Yeah.
And they're really flexible. And also we finish at 4:15 on Friday.
4:15 on Friday. Oh my God.
So that's really nice. It's nice to get that early break, and that's just a historic thing in the automotive sector, that a lot of automotive companies do that. But yeah, really good, healthy work-life balance, and it's one of the things that VW actually promotes themselves.
Okay.
And it really does filter through the business. So
Yeah.
that's nice.
And in terms of the working layout as well, we talk a lot about agile, flexible workspaces at Shoosmiths and open plan. What's the work environment actually like inside the office?
So at Volkswagen, it's exactly the same. It's all open plan. There are a few offices, but they're rarely used. And you sort of sit within your cluster. So finance and legal at Volkswagen sit together. So I'll always sit with the legal team, but there is always that chance for me to just hop into a meeting room or go across to a different brand, because Volkswagen has so many different brands within.
Because we've been saying VW, but it's VW Group, isn't
Yes.
it? So tell us the other brands that fall under that.
So the other brands that fall under that are Audi, Skoda, Seat, and then you've also got Bentley and Porsche, who are sort of sister companies, and you've also got the financial services side.
Yeah, okay, cool.
So yeah, there's always that chance for you to go and sit in a different brand, and all the brands have a different feel, which is nice because you get to feel what it's like to work in like Audi marketing. They're quite hip and cool, and Skoda's more like family kind of car. So yeah, they have a different feel. It's nice.
Okay, it's like getting an insight into a few different companies almost.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Yeah.
Okay. So if you've got any questions, do just type them into the comments. I'm just going to refresh the screen. Sometimes there's a little delay in them coming through, so bear with me. And if there's a friend or colleague that you think would benefit from watching this, do tag them in the comments, and they can come on and watch later or now. Thank you, Inayah, for joining me today. It's been really useful. We're about to head over to Aston University now to run a workshop about interview skills, and Inayah's going to join myself and Amy for that. So that's going to be a really nice afternoon to have. And I also just want to remind you about the next Facebook Live video that we've got. Let me just find what the date is for that. You can find all of our Facebook Live video dates on our events tab on Facebook. So if you want to go and check out what we're going to be talking about in upcoming videos, then please do check that out. Our next one actually is going to be on Thursday the 13th of February, so really soon. I think we're going live at 2 p.m. for that one, and I'm going to be joined by Karen Howard, who's a partner in real estate in our London office. We'll be filming from London, and we're going to be talking about her experience as a as a partner at Shoosmiths, but also a lot about social mobility in the legal industry. So you might have seen us sharing some videos from the Social Mobility Foundation this week. So we're going to be touching on some of the issues coming out of that and a bit about what Shoosmiths is doing to make sure that we are a socially mobile company. So don't forget to go and watch us on that. Also, the deadline for our placement scheme is the 28th of February, so make sure you go and submit your application, at least start your application anyway, and we'll share the links for those in the comments section on this Facebook video. If you did want to find out more about Shoosmiths' relationship with Volkswagen Group, you can learn about it on our website. There is a case study, which I've got a hard copy of here, but you'll be able to find this on our website. So do just search for that in the Insights tab, and you can read a little bit more about how we work with our clients. I'm going to do one last check to see if any more questions have come through. Bear with me. Okay, so I'm not seeing any more at this end, but of course if you have asked something and I haven't come back to you, I will do so after the video. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for joining me. We'll see you next time.